Sometimes the most revealing moments happen when nobody expects them. Not on a red carpet. Not during a big television announcement. Just a quiet Instagram post on an ordinary July afternoon, shared by a young woman who has spent her whole life watching her parents live in front of a camera, and who, for once, decided to let people see a little bit of her own story instead. That's really what this moment is about. Not a bikini. Not a headline. A daughter stepping just slightly into the light her parents have occupied for decades, and doing it on her own terms. If you've followed Kelly Ripa and Mark Consuelos for any length of time, you already know their daughter Lola has grown up almost entirely in public. Not because she asked for it, but because her parents built their careers on sharing their lives. Camp stories. College move-in days. Offhand jokes on live television. Lola has been a supporting character in that story since she was a child. So when she chooses to post something herself on her own account in her own words, it hits differently. It's not Kelly Ripa's daughter is in the news. It's Lola speaking for herself about someone she loves. And that's the detail worth sitting with for a second, because it says something about how these three people, Kelly, Mark, and their now adult daughter, have quietly renegotiated what public even means in their family. For years, Kelly and Mark have made their marriage part of their brand. The teasing. The affection. The slightly too much oversharing that somehow always lands as charming instead of cringeworthy. That's been their signature since the earliest days of their morning show partnership. This sense that nothing is off limits, that the audience is basically sitting at their kitchen table with them, is part of why people trust them. You feel like you know them. But Lola has always handled her own visibility differently. She doesn't post constantly. She doesn't turn her relationship into content the way her parents sometimes turn their marriage into content. So when she does share something, a birthday tribute to her boyfriend, a sun-soaked vacation photo, a quiet caption about love, it registers as rare. And rare, in the attention economy of social media, is exactly what makes people stop scrolling. Picture the scene for a second because the details matter. A turquoise bikini. A partner in pink swim shorts. Not a staged studio shot. A real, sun-bleached moment on a rock in the middle of a lake, later turned into a soft, hand-drawn illustration that Lola shared alongside her message. That choice alone tells you something about her. She didn't just post a photo. She turned it into something a little more personal, a little more intentional. Art, not just image. And then came the words. A tribute to her boyfriend, Cassius, on his birthday, full of the kind of language that doesn't get written for an audience. It gets written for one person. Calling him her love, in every lifetime. Thanking the universe for him. Calling him her best friend. It's the kind of caption that, if you didn't know whose daughter she was, you'd scroll past and think, that's sweet, and keep moving. But because of who her parents are, it became a headline. Which is, in its own strange way, exactly the tension Lola has been navigating her whole life. The ordinary moments of being a 25-year-old in love, filtered through the lens of extraordinary family fame. So why did this resonate with so many people? Why did a birthday post about a boyfriend most viewers had never heard of suddenly become something fans wanted to talk about? Part of it is simply this. People who grew up watching Kelly and Mark's marriage unfold on television have, in a strange way, grown up watching their kids too. Viewers have seen Lola go from a little girl in family photos to a college student, to now, a young woman visibly building her own adult life, her own relationship, her own creative career as a musician, her own identity separate from Kelly Ripa's daughter. Watching that evolution creates a kind of long-distance emotional investment. It's not so different from watching a niece or a family friend grow up. There's genuine warmth in it. There's also something quietly comforting about watching a long relationship modeled successfully for the next generation. Kelly and Mark have been together since the 1990s. They've built their entire public identity around the idea that marriage can stay playful, affectionate, even a little chaotic and still last. When their daughter shows the same kind of open, unguarded affection toward her own partner, it almost feels like proof that the pattern repeats, that whatever they got right at home actually took root. And that's really the deeper story here, isn't it? Not the swimsuit. Not the photo. The fact that Lola appears to be modeling the same emotional openness her parents have spent nearly 3 decades demonstrating on air, just in her own quieter register. There's another layer worth exploring too, how Kelly and Mark have handled their children's relationships from the parents' side of things. In past conversations on their show, they've talked candidly about how they approach their kids' dating, including Lola's relationship with Cassius. Their philosophy, as they've described it, is almost strikingly hands-off. Stay warm, stay neutral, and let your adult children make their own choices, because pushing too hard in either direction, loving a partner too much or too little, tends to backfire. It's a small piece of parenting wisdom, but it says a lot about why their family dynamic reads as healthy to outside viewers. There's no visible tension, no performative disapproval, no parental overreach. Just two people trying to let their daughter live her life while still being clearly, obviously proud of her. That pride shows up in small ways. When Lola posted her tribute to Cassius, Kelly responded publicly with warmth, not scrutiny. It's a small gesture, but it reinforces something audiences clearly want to believe about this family, that the affection isn't just for the cameras. It shows up in the comments section too, in the unscripted moments, in the quiet exchanges that aren't built for ratings. It's also worth noticing what this moment reveals about Lola herself, beyond her famous last name. She's spoken before about not loving the attention that comes with her parents' more risque, playful social media moments, at one point jokingly threatening to recreate one of their beach photos with Cassius just to see how her father would react. That's a telling detail. It shows a young woman who is affectionate and openly in love, but who also has her own sense of boundaries, her own comedic timing, her own way of pushing back, gently, humorously, against a family culture built on oversharing. She's not simply absorbing her parents' openness, she's translating it into something that feels like her own. That's the quiet tension running underneath this whole story. A daughter who grew up in the most public marriage in daytime television, learning how to be public on her own terms. Not performing constantly. Not chasing attention. Choosing, instead, specific moments, a birthday, a vacation, a rare and heartfelt caption, to let people in. And maybe that's exactly why so many viewers lingered on this particular post longer than they expected to. It wasn't really about the bikini or the aesthetic of the photo or even the illustration. It was about recognizing something familiar, the particular, slightly embarrassing, slightly beautiful honesty of young love, made even more resonant because it's coming from a family that has spent 30 years teaching audiences that honesty, even the messy kind, is worth showing. There's something almost generational about it if you step back far enough. Kelly and Mark built a career on being unfiltered with each other in front of an audience. Their kids grew up watching that unfold, the teasing, the affection, the willingness to be a little too honest on live television. And now here's Lola in her own quieter way, continuing that same tradition. Not copying it. Not performing it. Just inheriting it and making it hers. Maybe that's the real reason people keep coming back to stories like this one. It's not really about celebrity gossip. It's about watching a family's values get passed down in real time, watching a daughter grow into someone capable of the same open, unguarded love her parents have spent decades showing the world, and doing it without losing herself in the process. Perhaps the reason so many people remain invested in Kelly and Mark isn't simply because they've spent decades in the spotlight. It's because audiences continue to see something genuine in the way they navigate life together, as partners, as parents, and now as the two people quietly watching their daughter build a love story of her own. And maybe that's why moments like this stay with viewers long after the caption disappears from the feed. So here's a question worth sitting with. What do you think it says about a family when the next generation chooses openness over privacy, the same way their parents did? Do you think Lola's quieter version of that openness says something different about how young people today handle fame and relationships compared to their parents' generation? Share your thoughts in the comments, and let us know your favorite Kelly and Mark family moment, because if this story proved anything, it's that the small, unscripted ones are usually the ones that stay with us the longest.